Hi, welcome to the Classic Car Cave. I want to do a little intro. About 5 minutes into the video, I do an explanation of why I'm going to so much trouble, well not trouble, but so much to bolt everything onto this chassis and not weld it on. I have a friend, Gary Mees, who has JagVet1 channel, and he asked me this the other night on WhatsApp, because we tend to talk to each other late at night, him being in Arizona and me in Austria. There's a massive time difference, and he said, I can understand why you want to do some of the stuff, but why are you making everything boltable? And this is what I'm explaining in the video. So it's about 5 minutes in, explaining what the reasons are behind it, because ultimately what I'm going to do with this vehicle, I don't actually know. Whether I keep it, whether I restore it, whether I get some paperwork for it. It's a folly if I can't get any paperwork for it, or somebody doesn't want it turned into a roadster, or I'd like it as a hot rod. I'd love to have it, but to try and get that on the road here would be extremely difficult, as I explain in the video. It's about 5 minutes in, but I hope you enjoy the video. Take care, and I'll give you an update when the boys come over from Scotland, Sean and Willie. Take care. So there you go, it's nice and level. Of course there's no engine in it, but with the weight of that on the back and the gearbox is probably about the same. So that's right on the money. And I've got it in there. You can see the difference there on the chassis. See how it's going to the back? Because it tapers down at an angle. But it's on solid now. So, basically what we've got to do is copy it and do the same thing again. Should be a lot easier the second time around, because it was getting everything adjusted and getting it right on the money. So if I copy the same thing and put it in exactly the same place, there shouldn't be any problems. We shall see. So I've got these two sides in now. They're obviously not cleaned up yet. You can see some surface rust on them. But I've got to take them back out, take the edges off, and clean them up and paint them anyway, and then paint this chassis. But you can see that's reasonably tight there. It's a good fit. And then the one at the other end, again, it's not a bad fit. So that'll do the job. By the time you pull that in, it should be right on the money. And I've measured it, and as you can see, from that corner there to that corner there, and you can see that's pretty straight. There's maybe a mil of difference, certainly not enough to worry about with this. Yeah, so I'm pretty happy with that. So what I'll do tomorrow, I'm going to knock it off for tonight. I think it's Sunday night. I need to do maybe the garden while it's still dry, because it's on and off rain all week. Yeah, so what I'll do tomorrow is I'll make these L-shaped brackets around the corner here. I'll make these two brackets. Obviously I'll make them exactly the same. I've still got to do some welding on this bit here. I'm going to put caps on them all as well, obviously, because the rain's going to go straight in there for water. And I'll cap everything off as well. And then I'll make this side, you can see it's upside down at the moment. So I'll make another frame exactly the same size. Theoretically it should fit, but I can always adjust here and there because these front wings, you can see those flanges are absolutely buggered. They're split and everything, and they're paper thin. They need to come off and brand new ones put on of a slightly thicker material, probably 3mm I would put on it, or 2mm maybe. We'll see, but there's such a lot of work to do. There's another good year's work in this minimum, and just on this chassis. So. But what I've decided to do is I'm not going to fill any holes on the side here where these cuts are and everything. There's a few bad spots here and there where we've had to cut bolts off it. You can see there's some bad bits here, and the same on the other side. Because if for whatever reason we keep it on this chassis, and I'm going to keep it long term, I'll take that whole side piece right off and build a new one, because it's absolutely buggered. And you can see there where it's been kind of spot welded. I think that, strangely enough, yeah, it is. I can see the spot. They've obviously punched holes in it all the way along, and then they've either spot welded through it or whatever they've done. I don't know. But that piece is quite thin compared to the rest of the box, and there's loads and loads of crap inside it. So if you're going to do it, you'd have to do it right, and I would put a complete new 3mm plate on that all the way along the chassis. But because everything's boltable, it's no issue, can take it off. But if I sell the chassis, the engine, gearbox and running gear separately to somebody who wants to build a Rosselet, and we make this into a hot rod, as in, I don't know, Jaguar 4 litre, or you know, supercharged, whatever, XKR, XJR, whatever, then I'll build a chassis purpose for it. But I want to know that I've got somebody who's interested in it first, because I might be able to get some paperwork for this Citroen here with the engine and box that's in it, but putting something like a Jaguar or a Audi or a Mercedes engine in it with different running gear just would not wash here whatsoever. It would be very difficult to get it through the turf. So it really is going to have to be a customer or somebody who would want it in the UK or, you know, somewhere outside Europe, because Europe's just too tight for their, even though the work would be very high standard and professional, but yeah, it's just very difficult to get anything done here without a lot of problems engineering wise. So I'll crack on with this tomorrow, and I'll bring you an update when I get started in the morning. Okay, so I've made the two brackets, as you can see here, this one and this one. I put them the same, exactly in the same position they were on the other side. Obviously this is for this board, or running board is for the other side, but I've got it upside down, obviously because it's for that side. But I just wanted to see how it was sitting. Obviously it's flat completely on the top, and it goes the other way around, so these ribs, this is where they're bolted into now. The two arms are bolted here and the same here, and you can see that if I bring that back, it's about the position. You can see that probably fits in line. It might be slightly out, but it's nice and square like it is on the other side, so that tells me I'm in the ballpark, I'm getting it in the right place. So what I'm going to do now is I'll measure up this frame, this piece here. I'll build a new frame. I've already got the other half pipe, and you can see now how I made it. You can see how the half pipe is on here, and I've got the other half pipe which will go onto this new one on this side. I think the only downside is I don't think I've got a piece of 3mm steel which is as long as that, so what I might have to do is build the top section and then weld it in here. But I can weld it from behind and then lead load it inside where the split is. I have to do the same on this one anyway, when I, excuse me a second, so if I lift this up, you can see I have to move it across because otherwise it'll get caught. Excuse me a second. There we go. It's not on properly because obviously that side there is longer, but you can see there where I welded it in. We will actually lead load all that edge there. There's no point in putting filler in it. It'll just crack. So what I'll do is this pipe is welded onto the box section, and then this plate is welded onto here, and it'll be welded all the way along and then lead loaded. And I also have to cut this off, which is going too far into the chassis, and I'll cut this piece off as well. There's no need for this extension. So I'll make the same thing but for this side, and all I have to do is measure it up. It's been a lot quicker, so probably half the amount of time, because I knew what I had to do, and I used exactly the same measurements. So I'll make that box section up now and get it. Oh, that is heavy though. And I've made it out of 3mm, which seems super heavy, and it is very heavy, but I've made it out of 3mm because 2mm probably would have done it, but because I only wanted to use that amount of box section for the frame. I didn't want it denting in. Obviously 1mm is nowhere near strong enough, and 2mm is just a bit, if you stood in the centre it would bend I think slightly, so that's why I went for the 3mm on it. And yeah, we'll see how it goes. I'm quite pleased with it, that it fits in the right position, and then all I have to do is manipulate it with the mud guard to get it absolutely spot on. So we're definitely getting there. Cut out another 3cm box section. Unfortunately I haven't run out, but I've only got offcuts, so I'm going to have to weld this piece on. But what I'll do is I'll put 4 magnets on it, so it should, I'm going to get a tack on each corner. It should make it nice and straight, and you'll never see it once it's all welded up and cleaned. So I'll do that in the morning, get that on and see how square that is, and then I can put this end piece on that I made when I did the first one. So I cut that right in half, that tube, put that on the end and make up the step tomorrow and see how that goes. So another step forward. Okay, so I made the second step side. Here I just tack welded it in place. Don't make there's magnets anymore. What I did was I used those clamps there up at one end and then same on the other end, and to get it straight onto this original one. So I made it exactly the same size. It should be spot on that way. And again, as I say, I've just tacked it in. What I'll do now is I'll take it on the other side, make sure it's flat to the surface of the 2 L-shaped brackets on that side, and then I'll carry on welding it. There's no distortion in it. So I'll give that a shot now and see how it looks, and then bring it back and completely weld it, if there's no distortion in it. Okay, so put this one back. As I said, I've got to cut that edge off there, and this is the actual frame width, so obviously you won't see the running board and the frame when the sides are on it, and it runs along the chassis leg, because obviously this is tapered in a little bit. So I've got the basics of the one on this side. You can see I've just used the mole grips there to hold on, and that's how it works. So it sits on that, and then you've got this half round which I weld in and then put the plate on top. What I did do, what I learned from doing the first one, was this chassis's got a slight taper on it, and to get this to sit properly, you know, to be flat on here and across that leg, you need to be able to pull them out a little bit. And this is why I didn't put the bottom bolts in. You'll see both sides, because now I've got it in the, there's no angle in it. I can actually move these in and out a little bit, and it'll tell me exactly where to put the bolt through. So that's the second side step, and as you can see I haven't welded it all the way around yet, so it'll be welded in the corners and on top and all the way around, and they'll be capped off as well. So that's another one done, and then I'll just need to get a 3mm plate that's at the right size, because obviously this has to run at an angle down that chassis, and we'll end up with 2 running boards, one on there on that side, and then this one on this side. And yeah, I think one of the next things I'm going to do, Amir's due to come back tonight, but unfortunately something's happened. Refka's sick, so hopefully they'll come tomorrow. She's better tomorrow, and they'll come tomorrow night, because I've got Sean and Willie coming on Thursday on their bikes. They're in Amsterdam tonight, I think Black Forrest tomorrow, and then they're here on Thursday, so we'll have a barbecue Thursday night. But what I want to do now is, as you can see with this top frame bolts on. You can see the bolts are here underneath. I don't know if I can take it underneath and show you. So you can see there's, I don't know if that's showing there, there's these bolt tabs here, and again there's another one on that side there, and all the way along. So that top frame comes off, so I can take the top frame off here with the upright on it, finish up all the welding on that, because there's some welding to do here. This has not been welded in yet for the spare wheel. I can take that off separately. I can then take the base off, and then the base is attached here, as you can see, and all 4 corners. and then there's just rib nuts in the chassis to bolt it down. And again, you can see here and on the corner there, and same thing on that end. And then we can take the bottom, say the same situation. So, because there's a bit of welding to do on them and tidying up and so on, so I'll get all that back done. I can get it painted in hammerite, black hammerite, and then bolt it back on for the last time, because then I know it's good. And then we're going to have to fit the sides up. So that's what I'm at. So I think I'll put the video up tonight, even though I'll probably get on with a bit of stuff tomorrow. But I think it's long. I think I've got enough footage now to do this one. So I'm pretty happy. So I've got one sideboard in, the second side running board. Quite easy now to finish that up, but it was a lot easier the second time around. When you're doing multiples of anything, you know, it's one of them things, isn't it? You know, it's working it out and designing it in the first place to make it work. You learn by your mistakes, and then you get it sorted. So on that note, stay safe, keep the faith, enjoy your hobby, and yeah, just go out and make something, or go out and enjoy yourself in the garage. Take care, be good to each other.